4:30, we're going to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Attendance has been noted by the deputy clerk. Members of the committee, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest for the items appearing on the agenda? Seeing none, presentations and delegations. Seeing none, we'll move forward. Items for consideration. Can I get a mover and seconder to place all items on the floor?
I'll move that.
Moved by Dean. Can I have it seconded? By Councillor Utley. 4.1, the Southwest Community Center project revision to phase 2. Financial impact is none. That staff report 2022-452 Southwest Community Center project revision to phase 2 be received, and that staff be directed to move forward with phase 2 as detailed and recommended in this report and proceed with the detailed design phase of the project. Councillor Sequoia, I understand that you have an amendment.
I do have an amendment. So I'd like to place on the floor and seeking a seconder that the Southwest Task Force formally requests that the consideration of item 4.1 be deemed urgent by the mayor due to the potential of a lame duck council for ratification at the July 26th council meeting pursuant to subsection 15.3.12a of the city's procedure bylaw.
Any discussion on this amendment?
I have a seconder in Councillor Utley.
Sorry, Utley. Councillor Utley.
So now that
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Please.
don't get an overview from staff, please.
a recap of where we're at. I think he wants a recap of everything.
Is that you?
On the amendment or on the main motion?
Both, please, Indy.
Okay. Well, through the chair,
Mr. Chair.
to Councillor Utley, the amendment that's on the floor right now is just to have the task force request to the mayor that this item be urgent.
Yeah.
Just so that goes directly to city council meeting. So
I
that's
should
what's
have
on the floor right now.
I'll blame it on my bad knee for not thinking of that. So I've got nothing to comment on with the amendment.
Okay. Councillor Sequoia.
And just to speak a little bit to the amendment, it looks like we will be moving into a lame duck council. And so to prevent any further delays is why I've suggested that we ask the mayor that this be urgent and placed on the city council agenda for ratification without any previous notice to the community.
Ratification on what part?
Just to accept this report at city council as presented. At whatever we decide today, that it be looked at city council on Tuesday.
So I think one of the reasons that we called this meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there has been some information that was brought forth on the report that the task force wasn't made aware of, to do with a site design change. And I'd like to get a little bit of a background on that from obviously the person that put the motion forward, is where the information was deemed that we need to have a dedicated cricket pitch in the Southwest Sports Complex.
So just in keeping with procedure, I think we can only be speaking to the amendment at this point.
And did you want to read the amendment then?
Again, you would like me to read it again?
Please.
I will reiterate that the amendment, as it's written, that the Southwest Task Force formally request that the consideration of item 4.1, which is the amendment presented to it, or the motion presented to us today, be deemed urgent by the mayor due to the potential of a lame duck council for ratification at the July 26th council meeting pursuant to subsection 15.3.12a of the city's procedure bylaw.
So everybody will have to excuse my ignorance on this because I'm not part of the procedural bylaw and I'm not sure exactly what any of that means. What I do know is when this report came back to the task force, it wasn't anything even remotely close to what we had agreed upon beforehand. That there was an amendment that had been put forth to council. And then when we as the task force saw it, we were then advised that this is what staff has been in fact asked to do. My question is that in order for us to sign off on this, we just wanted to find out where the data came from in order to justify making a change to the overall master plan of the Southwest Sports Complex. Yeah,
Again,
please.
I'm happy to shine some light on my perspective and what brought me to the point where I was talking with
That's
staff
what we're
about
asking
this.
for, yeah.
And I'm happy to do that, but procedurally, we have an amendment on the floor that speaks strictly to, it's an amendment, so
Can I
we're technically.
Yeah,
only
if you
allowed
could
to
do
speak
that,
to the
Yeah,
Chris,
amendment.
so I think what Councillor Sokoli's getting to is right now, what's on the floor is the amendment. So once we decide on the amendment is just a demon urgent, so that
Yeah, we
instead
can
of
do that.
so once that's
Once that's
done,
voted on.
then it's gonna be the main motion as
Sure.
amended, and then we could talk to what you're referencing to.
Okay.
But right now, what Councillor Sokoli is saying, she's, dead on here with the procedural bylaws that we have to speak to the motion.
I want to make sure that I'm not overstepping. That's why
Yeah,
I'm being
yeah,
clear
yeah.
on this.
So
I
once we
apologize.
decide the amendment, then we could discuss the main motion as amended.
So can we call a vote on the amendment? All in favor of moving it forward through in the lame duck scenario? All in favor? 3, 4, 5. Motion carried. Any discussion on the main motion as the amendment? This is kind of where you get
Yeah,
to
so-
go. All right.
I'm gonna say just, so speaking to the motion as amended, I can shine some light to how my experience and how I got to the point where we're here. And I won't speak to staff perspective, but I would like to have them share their opportunity as well. So it really just began with one email that came in, someone from a constituent who lives in my ward, suggesting that they have nowhere really to play cricket, and when they do, it's quite cumbersome because they have a lot of equipment and a large mat that they bring, and they're kind of working in between all of the other sporting schedules in Brantford. And then there was another email from another person, and then there was another email from another person, and I thought to myself, there must be something to this. There must be a desire. It's worth looking into. So that's when I began conversations with the folk that reached out to me to ask a little bit about what that looks like to them, what their needs are, explain a little bit more about the equipment that they're bringing, because I admittedly at the time didn't know a lot about cricket. So at that point, I reached out to staff who explained to me that some of the cricket leads had actually reached out to the city and they have started a conversation already. So I thought, okay, so there's more to this. It's bigger than just the couple of emails that I got. From there, I ended up meeting with a gentleman who was one of the first founding fathers of the Brantford Cricket League, dating back to the 50s.
Do you have a name?
I can give you a name. Jeff Lee is his name.
Okay.
He was one of the 5 that reached out. He reached out to me when he saw that I brought cricket forward, because he was so excited to see it come back to the table and be something that can be great again here in Brantford. He offered a ton of hindsight and a lot of connection. There were some information that we were able to gather from the Canadian Cricket League that indicated that Brantford was actually one of the first locations in all of Canada that had a cricket league, which I thought was really cool. And it definitely sparked this fire inside of me to see where we could go with this, because it speaks to a part of our heritage, I believe.
Sorry.
So
Cricket's part of our heritage?
the city of Brantford,
Okay.
the history of the city of Brantford. He gave me some details on what the cricket league looked like back in the 50s, and that they would play at Cockshut Park. And that there was, at one point, Parks and Rec had gifted some land to the Brantford Cricket League, which the deed somehow, obviously disappeared over time, and nothing ever came of that. But the cricket clubhouse is actually still there. That was built in the 50s by the Brantford Cricket League at Cockshut Park, to the rear of Cockshut Park. He filled me in a little bit about the tournaments and what they would look like across southwestern Ontario, and he shared with me a great story about how everyone loved coming to Brantford because of the proximity to the Grand River. We have what's called a true cricket pitch here. it went on to the 90s when the league started taking a weird direction that some of the original players didn't like, and they eventually started playing in Hamilton and Toronto and spreading out, and the league eventually fell apart here in Brantford. So now we find ourselves in this position where people are wanting it again. We have over 200 players playing here currently, from what we could determine.
How was that determined?
Through speaking with the leagues and how many players they have.
How many leagues?
2. It was originally thought we had 3, but it turns out we could only, for certain, say that there are 2, with just over 200 members. And then, of course, Dan and I had a great conversation. I said, you know, sometimes when the facilities just aren't available to you here, you start leaving. And I gave a great example about how, you know, we didn't have an indoor soccer facility and I had to drive to Hamilton for myself to play indoor soccer. So we do feel that there's probably a bunch of people more that are leaving town to play on a proper cricket pitch. And yeah, I'll let staff continue, but that's sort of where I went with it. I did try to speak to as many people as possible. I tried to get a really detailed history on cricket. I do feel there's a need for it. And I represent the people of my ward, and the people of my ward and the residents of Brantford have asked for this. And so I brought it forth to council. Council was very supportive of it. And now we find ourselves here where we're discussing if this is the best location for it to be built. And is there anything I didn't touch on that you were maybe looking for?
Nope, no,
Okay.
that was pretty thorough.
Councillor Utley has his hand up.
Councillor Utley?
No.
You're muted.
Does
Councillor
help
Utley.
if I turn my voice on, doesn't it? Thank you
There you
very
go.
much, Mr. Chair. Could staff, through you to staff, I just want to confirm that the cricket facility is in phase 2. It looks like it is. I just want to confirm it.
The chair.
Mhm.
Yes, that's true, Councillor Utley. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you now. I didn't quite get all of that, Indy.
Yes, that it's confirmed that it would be in phase 2.
Okay, and is there a budget for the cricket facility?
So to the chair, we would work within the budget that's approved for the entire site. the
Okay.
Southwest site. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to go back to estimates to for the funding for this.
So through the chair, Councillor Utley, we have to look at pretty much every capital project with the markets
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
So there may be a slight change, but right now we're thinking that the swap of cricket to soccer.
Yeah.
Or football could work.
Well, it's certainly, I think it adds, through you, Mr. Chair, adds a different dimension to the facilities that we offer in the city, and this makes it pretty much like a permanent home for cricket by the looks of it. And I think it's a game that's on the rise here in Canada and in Brantford. So I'm pleased to support this. Thank you.
Thanks. Staff, is there any input that you would like to have in terms of the report that was produced?
So to you, Chair, everything that we need to provide was in the memo with the information required.
So I have some questions. Where did the Agnes Hodge scenario come into play that they were playing 7 days a week at Agnes Hodge?
So I'll have to ask Rick to come on. Rick is the Director of Parks and Facilities.
Is he with us?
Yeah, he's online.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, through you to the group. When I spoke with the individuals that had organized that particular cricket group and the number of teams, they had identified that initially they were using Dobney Park for their play, but that it was not suitable for what they were wanting to do. So they had found another location at Agnes Hodges that did work for them. I asked them how often they played and at what time, and the information they provided to me is what's in the memo.
So was the person that you're speaking to Chris Kurdick by any chance?
No, it was not.
Did you have a meeting with him today at 3:30?
He was in a meeting with me today at 3:30. Yes. It was
The
not
topic?
to do with cricket, though.
So I did have some words with Chris Kurdick about the leagues and the teams. He's a large supporter. He's also with the Sports Council about the level of interest of the game of cricket in Brantford. In fact, he informed me that there's not two leagues. There's not even two teams. There's just one team. Do you know the name of the team by any chance?
It's in the memo. There's what,
The name
you
of the
say
team?
team, or do you mean league?
No, the team that's here in town.
The Brantford, no?
The name of the team is the Panthers.
Okay.
So it's one team and they represent Brantford in a Niagara region where they actually go out and compete.
Okay.
Some of the interest has come in from out of town, being Hamilton, Mississauga, Brampton. They do come here to play on Saturdays and Sundays. The reason I asked about the Agnes Hodge is on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I drive down to Steve Brown. And I've been doing this for 15 years and I've never once seen them playing cricket at Agnes Hodge, not once. That's my own eyes. So my point to this is that when people say things that are trying to sell a facility to the city in order to have it built, I probably make some stuff up too. I'm not saying that that's the case here, but it kind of does sound like that a little bit to me. If there's one team that's 11 players, it seems like a lot of infrastructure that we're going to be changing at the Southwest Sports Complex to accommodate one team, possibly to a growing population in the West End, which I'm very aware of. And yes, cricket is a fast growing sport, for sure. One of the things that I would like to see in the Southwest Sports Complex is not necessarily a cricket pitch, but because they do have an existing pitch. And from what I was told this afternoon by Chris, they actually like playing at Waterworks. There's no windows to break. There's no distractions. It's just them every Saturday and every Sunday. They like it. What they don't like is when you're playing cricket, there has to be a bit of a backstop in order to be able to see the ball coming in. If anybody's ever played it, that ball's coming in real quick. So they've had some vandalism, so they would like to have a storage area that they could put some of the equipment in order to make sure that they can play on Saturdays and Sundays. To me, a dedicated pitch to the cost of moving assets at the Southwest Sports Complex doesn't make any sense, and I'll tell you why. From the design that I saw, it looks to me like the dome that we've asked to be built for an indoor facility. As everybody knows, that Brantford does not have an indoor facility that has AstroTurf. That's what that dome was to facilitate. I would just as soon see 2 soccer pitches under a dome that can be removed in the spring for the summer hours. You put a cricket pitch in there, it can only be used for cricket. That's it. It's not a multi-sport facility. If cricket does have a place that they can play, and maybe a building down at Waterworks would make most sense. Now, ideally, I would like to look at it from a perspective of when, and I said this to Rose when I had the conversation with her in 1982, there was a gentleman by the name of Vern Payne. He was very adamant of cricket in the city of Brantford. And the reason I know Mr. Payne is because he was in Theatre Brantford with my mom. And in 1982, I would walk from one park at Coxshott to the other park to play in the Optimist tournament in T-ball all the way through Brantford minor baseball. So I've been around and I've seen it, and they had a building there. It's unfortunate that the deed was lost, but I think some concessions can be made in the existing parameters that we have already for cricket. Instead of dedicating an area that I would like to see, and I can't speak for the committee, but I would like to see 2 soccer fields side by side under a dome that can be removed in the spring to be utilized for multi-sports, not just one. Right now, that dome has been changed to accommodate the cricket design, and you can only play soccer in it. Well, that doesn't make any sense. We initially had these conversations. We wanted to have multiple sports so we could play lacrosse in it. So we could have a track around it so Special Olympics could train in the wintertime. Right now with the cricket pitch, we can't do that there because it infringes on the space that's required for cricket. Waterworks is better to accommodate that because of the amount of space that's down there. So in order for the Southwest Task Force to sign off on a pitch, I'm not taking anything away from cricket. I think it is a rapidly growing sport in the country, no question. But to change the design in the sports complex in the West, that makes no sense whatsoever. What we need to have is those 2 pitches that could be used for multiple sports: soccer, football, track, lacrosse, that's kind of my thought on this. And again, I love sports, period, all of them. And I've been invited down to play cricket, ironically enough, this afternoon, and I might give it a shot. But I can't sign off on something that they already have an existing pitch. There's one team. And so I've been told this. So I don't know where all the other information came from, but I have done a fair amount of research on this. And present, the history's great, and we've talked about the history, and I understand history. But moving forward, what's in the best interest of the city of Brantford today that we need to get done today? If cricket becomes a faction where we have more than one team in the city, where we have the 200 players, when we get that, then maybe we need to look at building a building for them, whether it's at Waterworks or Cockshed or whatever. I don't feel that it should be at the Southwest Sports Complex. Not sure how that came to fruition. Councillor Sepulveda?
I take slight issue with our chair misrepresenting the amount of players to the committee. Because we have done research. There's not just one team, despite the one person you spoke with. There's not just one team though. Like, I understand the Agnes Hodge, and you and I have discussed this, and maybe somewhere between what your friend is saying and all of the research we've
These
done,
are my
we're gonna,
friends.
the person that you spoke with,
Mhm.
allow me to. I'm sure that somewhere between where the person that our chair had a conversation with and all the people we've had conversation with, somewhere in the middle, we're gonna find the truth, right? There isn't just one team though, so I would like this committee to know that there are,
What's the name of the second team?
what do you mean the second team?
If there's two
I
teams.
feel like you're challenging right now, and all I care about is the fact that I have a base of people in the community that I represent, and they have asked for this, and they want this. It's a multicultural sport, and a lot of what I learned about it was back in the 50s, what they loved about this sport so much was that, it was 5 guys from the UK that brought it forward, and then they were playing with someone who immigrated from Jamaica and India, and it was very multicultural, and and then they would all break bread, and there's a large background in this. And I think as we see the shift in Brantford to this more of a multicultural community, this need is going to grow. It's coming, it's already here. There's a need for it. It's continuing to grow. I would just like this committee to not be misrepresented on the demand for it. Okay, and trying to trip me up and ask what all these team names are is not going to, seriously, it's not going to. I've been speaking with the leagues. I would like to provide a service to the residents of the city. And that is it. I'm not here to challenge you and be who knows more about cricket with you. Okay, I'm not gonna play this game. But let's not misrepresent the need for it and what's going on here.
I took issue with you yesterday asking me if I felt that I was the right fit to chair this task force. So if there's a bit of a challenge, yes, I was feeling the challenge yesterday.
Well, don't take issue with why I asked you that. Take issue with the behavior that you demonstrated that made me ask them. We're very confrontational. I answered the phone and you were like attacking me on this.
No, I don't think so.
Let's put the item on the floor right
Sure.
now.
So,
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I've been on this committee the longest, like 2014, 2015. I've gone through every process, engaging the public at the school, showing the playground equipment, going to the schools, doing the surveys with the classrooms, getting their feedback, meeting with the soccer, Brantford City Soccer, that is absolutely wanting a soccer field there. Football wanted the field there too. Soccer wants a dome. They're willing to fund that dome. So now we have all this and we're going back. I live in your Ward 2. I'm very,
I'm not Ward 2. Sorry,
you are my counselor.
Ward 1.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
So I talked to many people in there, very involved in that ward. No one has ever said, I've never heard we need a pitch for cricket.
Respectfully, why would they ask me for that? Like, I'm
No,
just-
because they know I'm on that committee. So, hey, if I'm on the committee and we're putting in a sports complex, why don't you kind of talk to the committee? when you get the committee involved, wouldn't you call myself or Jay up when you have?
Okay,
this
everybody,
information?
listen,
No,
I think we need to have some decorum for this meeting. I think the chair needs to reel it in. And I understand that this is a very sensitive topic to a lot of people, but this back and forth in the attacking members,
I'm not
It's
attacking
not-
anybody.
it's
just-
not within decorum. And if anybody who's a committee member, they can raise a point of order or point of privilege, but at this time, can everybody just take a deep breath? Remember why we're here.
Yeah.
And stay on task, please.
So
What's the purpose of the task force if we're not consulted
This is literally what we're doing.
So
after the fact?
No,
I guess my next question is, as the chair, how do we move forward by saying that we can't approve this, or we need to send an amendment to have it sent back to the way that it was initially? How do we do that?
Through
We can
the
cut all this
chair,
Yep.
you can move an amendment to proceed with phase 2 of the original approved plan.
Then I would like to make a motion that we approve an amendment to go with the original plan for phase 2.
So that amendment is in your roadmap right now, if you want to read that.
So that clause B be amended to proceed with phase 2 amenities of the original approved Southwest Sports Park master plan as identified in figure 2 of section 4.1 of the staff report.
Do you have a mover?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a seconder?
So I think Dean's your seconder.
Okay. There are no resolutions.
Well, we have to vote on it,
I'm sorry. Can we call this to vote, please?
on the amendment.
On the amendment?
May I speak to the
You have
amendment?
Rose in the queue.
Go ahead.
I would just like to say that I have a tremendous amount of respect for the process of going to committees and getting the feedback from the community and the community members that sit on these committees. I have dedicated 15 years to doing this. So there was absolutely no disrespect intended by, this is the process that was before me. It went to council. I thought I'd gauge if there was a desire there for it. There was, and then it came here for discussion to see if this is the place for it. I have full support for whatever is decided here by the members of this committee.
Of this committee?
Are you questioning my?
I don't support it.
I'm saying, if this committee sits here and has a
I think we need to move
conversation,
forward.
I'm sorry, I'm talking. If this committee has a wholesome discussion on whether or not this is the place for it and decides that it's not, I'm happy to support that and I will continue on my way. I don't know where this like animosity came from. I walked in this room. I think we need a conversation afterwards about this entire task force. So I'm happy to discuss it. I don't think this is the right decision solely because the people that I represent have asked me for it and I'm representing the voice of 200 people that reached out. And so I will not be supporting this amendment, unfortunately, Jay. And that's all I'll say on that.
What's next here, Chris?
You ask if people want to vote yes or no.
So all in favor of moving this forward? All no's? Okay,
So now you're back with the main motion as amended.
main motion is amended.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are no,
You'll have to call the vote on that. Councillor Elliott has his hand up.
yeah, go ahead, Councillor Huntley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a little bit of an awkward situation in that this item came to committee of the whole, I think it was within the last 2 weeks. And in retrospect, and in respect to this task force, we should have referred it to this task force for a study and for discussion. I think that was missing in the process. So I don't think that was done. Well, I know it was not done maliciously or to circumnavigate this this task force. Having said that, I would like to make an amendment that this task force explores the feasibility of a cricket facility in the phase 2 part of this. So we can do our homework, we can go out to the community, get more information, get more support, get letters of support, hopefully from those that have an interest in cricket. And I think that would provide us with the information we need to make a more fulsome decision one way or the other. Right now, I think, I feel like we're flying by the seat of our pants a little bit. Councillor Sicoli, did the right thing. She's, with all due respect, Councillor Sicoli, we're just still learning a lot in this. So am I. After 12 years, I still learn a lot. There's always room for that. So I'm trying to find some middle ground here, not to cut off cricket entirely, but to leave the door open that we can give the staff and this task force the opportunity to test the waters to see if it will be supported. The last thing we need to do is build a cricket facility and then find out nobody uses it. I think that would look really bad on all of us. So I think we need to do a little bit of homework in that regard. So,
Agree.
Chris, did you get any part of that?
Yeah, so Councillor Ellie, just to clarify, right now, the motion that's on the floor is for staff to continue with phase 2, including the cricket facility. Are you asking that staff put that on hold and look into the feasibility of doing that?
Yeah, something to that effect.
I'm not too sure if that affects any type of timelines or not with regards to the Southwest. I'm not too sure if Lindy or Jennifer want to speak up to the timelines.
So through the chair, Councillor Ali, so the amendment was passed that this goes straight to council and deemed urgent with this cricket pitch on phase 2.
Yeah.
So that there, if we're going back to, I guess, reach out, public engagement, then that amendment, there's no real point to go straight to council with this. So the idea was that we move forward with this design, and because it goes straight to council, we can actually continue on with the design and get moving on that. That was the purpose of it, or else it's delayed. So if we do go out and do public engagement, or we reach out and get letters of either support or other information, it would probably put us into next year.
So we have cricket in there through you, Mr. Chair. We do have cricket in the phase 2 as it stands right now in the resolution. Secondly, I guess this will buy us some time to get out and find out what the level of interest is with cricket. And if there isn't a lot of interest, then I would assume we would have to modify that plan down the road a little bit.
I think a good idea is on July 30th, there's an information seminar that's at the Sports Council in regards to the interest for cricket that I will be attending to see how much interest there is. So that's July 30th with the Sports Council here in Brantford.
So it,
So Councillor Idley, after Indy's explanation, you still want to proceed with your amendment?
I don't think I need to now. Am I
Okay.
correct?
sorry.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, the only thing I feel we need to do is determine what the level of interest is with cricket.
Yes, so through the chair, Councillor Ali, so that was the work that we did in terms of contacting the cricket clubs and then letting us know the amount of players that they have as requested by the task force. I can't speak to truths and whatnot. I don't get into that. We collect the data from the players and we presented that. In all honesty, it was a resolution passed by council to look at Southwest as an option. And we've done that. As a courtesy, we've come to the task force to let them know, and maybe an error ask for a recommendation, which maybe it should be just received, because it was council's decision to include or to look at Southwest as an option. And so we've done that. And so that's kind of where we're at now, Councillor Utley, with this. We've included that engagement with the players in general, the two leads that we see here. And we've done a lot of engagement in terms of the entire site, as Dean has spoken to over the years. And there's a report to the task force that spoke of all the decisions that were made last April, I believe we came in, of how we got to this point. So that's the entire history of where we are now. So to us, that engagement's done, but if there is an amendment, I would then request that amendment of going straight to council may need to be revised as part of this amendment, maybe, if that's the way to do it, Chris.
I think what I'll do is withdraw my amendment, and I'll leave it in your hands, staff's hands, Rick Cox, to reach out to the cricket community and determine that level of interest. I don't think we need an amendment to do that, to be honest. So I withdraw my amendment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Utley. Please leave us.
Ken has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Just through the chair to staff, just a question, the detailed design for the project overall, does that include a public consultation component at some point? Or are we envisioning some public consultation there?
Yeah.
Through the chair to you, Mr. Simons, yes, there is public consultation included in the detailed design process, whether that be from the playground equipment selection, colors, things along those lines, as well as public information center to discuss the construction phase.
Thank you. And just a second question, when this appears before council, is there an opportunity for any groups to appear as delegations to discuss either for or against this?
Through the chair, that's correct. They can come delegate to the item.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Just call the vote on the main motion as amended.
So I'd like to call a vote on the main motion as amended.
Which is one again.
Yeah.
It's in the agenda, so it's with the recommendation that's in the agenda. So the cricket and then urgent.
And this is where I get kind of confused as to what parameters are of how we go about looking at more information,
At the same time, making it urgent.
but at the same time making it urgent. I think we need to reach out to some of the groups to find out. And it's more to me about the validity of the information that was given to staff, more so than anything else. If we're gonna make an educated decision on whether this should or shouldn't happen, I think we need to make more than just a couple of phone calls. I don't think we need to see game sheets or, how often they're hosting tournaments in Brantford. Although that would be pretty valuable information to find out and justify the expense of building this pitch.
Through the chair. The committee has, they could defer, they could refer, they can amend. Those are the options. Right now, you have, there was an amendment that failed. You have the item going straight to city council because of the potential of lame duck council. And you have the recommendation as identified in the report on the floor right now.
So there's three options. So what,
Defer it.
I think we defer it. Councilor Sequoia?
I think there's some discord amongst this committee, and that's creating confusion for the rest of the committee. Research was done, public consultation did take place. This was approved by council, and what this motion that we're about to vote on, what this does, it allows us to move forward with a design. If we hit a wall of some sort with the design, it comes back here, right? So the final say in this comes back here to us to approve. So this simply gives direction to staff on what we want this design to look like. And I am full support of this being, or having the cricket pitch as a component to the design moving forward. Delaying this again will ensure that we face yet another delay with this, within this committee. And it we'll face another delay with moving forward, even though we have this all outlined in the capital budget and we're ready to move forward. I don't suggest another deferral. I don't suggest a referral. I think it's unnecessary. And on the simple grounds that we've already done all of this research. This last time this committee met, they asked for some more information to be brought back. Staff did that research, brought it back, and now for some reason it's not good enough and we need more. So I will be voting in support of this today. And I do think it's urgent that we move forward and we give staff direction to proceed with the design so we can finally start enjoying this piece of land. And I don't think it's necessary to defer or refer. So I will be voting in support of this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Indy, is that what you did was site design? So it's already been done?
So through the chair, to your chair, we had, it's site concept. So now we have to go to a consultant to design the engineering side of everything. So this is why it's important for us to get going on it. But a deferral's being asked by the chair. I don't know if there's more to discuss on that.
We need a second there.
I'll second that.
And then we need a time.
We have the meeting on the 30th, sports council.
Yep.
Right? We should know then.
I would think so.
After
That's
that
not
meeting
that far
on the
away.
30th, if population's there and the numbers are there, absolutely.
How long can we defer it for?
It's up to the committee, but the council meeting is the 26th, and that's your kind of your last chance to do it this year.
I think we need to talk to the sports council on the 30th. So I think we go the first week of August. So can we defer to the first week of August?
I'll speak to the deferral.
First week of August.
For clarification, that would probably require then a report, a memo from council. Or, sorry, from staff. Or
Do
is
the
this
chair deferral until they receive more information from staff? I would suggest if you're deferring it, you're also striking out the urgent clause.
Yeah, we're deferring it. There's no urgent clause necessary, correct?
So now you need an amendment to remove that.
We could do it all in one motion. So let it be deferred until the first week of August, and that clause C be struck.
That makes the most sense. So how do I do this properly, procedurally?
You would call the vote.
Call the vote to defer until
First week of August,
first week of August.
it's not the sports council on the 30th.
Yeah, we gives us a chance to talk to the sports council, not only staff, but also the task force. That way we can kind of, it's like the two-headed monster.
I don't know if Indy wants to.
through your chair, if we could have a week to put the information together for in terms of our internal processes.
So do we do the second week of August?
Why don't we just do August?
August, just leave it as
August.
August, so we can get a committee or task force together.
And then we do some research on our own. And then maybe before we have a report put together, we can kind of put our heads together as to what we found. And I think it's more comprehensive. We can determine the validity of this. I think that that's more pertinent.
That's directed by the committees.
Do I have an opportunity to speak to the amendment and deferral on the table?
Yeah,
I think this is a stall tactic of sorts. So I will not personally be supporting this. I don't think it's going to. It's going to create a delay that's unnecessary. So I will not be supporting this today.
thank you, Counselor. So next we call a vote to defer to August. So I'd like to call a vote to defer until August. All in favor of deferring to August so we can collect more information? Anyone against?
Can I call the vote on the main motion as amended?
I think I have to do that, don't I?
Through the chair, a member of the committee can ask that the vote be called.
Did you want to do that through the chair?
Through the chair, I'd like to ask that the vote be called.
Certainly. So all in favor of moving forward with the amended report? All in favor? All against? Move forward. So there is no notices of motion other than that. So this meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Chair.